In this video, we will talk about the United Monarchy of Israel and its subsequent division into the Northern Kingdom of Israel and the Southern Kingdom of Judah, leading us to the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BCE. We will also talk about ancient Near East rulers who affected the history of both of these kingdoms. When we talk about the division of Israel, we are talking about the division of the United Monarchy of Israel. The United Monarchy was established through King Saul and contained all 12 tribes of Israel in one kingdom. After Saul's disobedience, the kingdom was stripped from his lineage and given to David. The Davidic covenant, according to the Deuteronomistic history, maintained that God would always have one of David's descendants as the king of Israel. Solomon took over after David's death. During Solomon's reign, we consider this the golden age of Israel. Solomon constructed the first temple, and as a ruler had good relations with other people and other nations. Zadok was the high priest during this time. However, Solomon did not do what was right in the eyes of the Lord, according to the text we have in Kings. The reason for the division of Israel is primarily because of Solomon's sins. According to the text, we see in 1 Kings chapter 11, "Then the Lord was angry with Solomon, because his heart had turned away from the Lord, and the God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice, and had commanded him concerning this matter, that he should not follow other gods. But he did not observe what the Lord commanded. Therefore the Lord said to Solomon, Since this has been your mind, and since you have not kept my covenant and my statutes that I have commanded you, I will surely tear the kingdom from you and give it to your servant. Yet, for the sake of your father David, I will not do it in your lifetime. I will tear it out of the hand of your son. I will not, however, tear away the entire kingdom. I will give one tribe to your son, for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen." Then the Lord raised up an adversary against Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the royal house in Edom. As we see here, the emphasis on the Davidic covenant in Kings and the rest of the Deuteronomistic history is clear. Though Solomon sinned, and though his sins, which in this case were going after foreign women and following their gods, led to the division of the monarchy, because of David and the Davidic covenant, the kingship would never be completely stripped away from David's lineage. As an example of what the kingdoms looked like after the split of Israel, you can refer to this map here. The southern kingdom of Judah, which is in orange, contains the city of Jerusalem, right here. The northern kingdom of Israel is much larger, which we will talk about in a moment, but does not contain the city of Jerusalem. Because of this, the Deuteronomistic historian seems to think that the northern Israelites cannot worship God in the same way that the southern Judahites can, because they do not have the temple and do not have the central shrine to worship and sacrifice at. As you could tell from the previous map, when the kingdom of Israel was split, it was split into the northern kingdom of Israel, which was much larger, and the southern kingdom of Judah. The northern kingdom of Israel had 10 of the 12 tribes of Israel. The capital began in Shechem, but eventually was moved to the city of Samaria, primarily for trade reasons. The first king of the kingdom of Israel was Jeroboam, who rebelled against King Solomon during his reign. The southern kingdom of Judah was obviously located in the south, and contained the tribe of Judah as well as, by most accounts, the tribe of Benjamin. The important thing to remember here is that the southern kingdom of Judah contained the capital city of Jerusalem, which meant that it contained the temple. The first king of the kingdom of Judah was Rehoboam, who was the son of King Solomon. Remember, as we talk about this history, we are primarily focusing on what is recorded in the Book of Kings, since this is where most of the information comes from. The Book of Kings is part of the Deuteronomistic history, and the historian is focused on emphasizing the Davidic lineage and the central shrine in Jerusalem, as well as the importance of worshiping only Yahweh. Because of this, we will see that the kingdom of Judah is often given better representation than the northern kingdom of Israel. For reference, this is the genealogy of the kings of both the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah, as well as, in blue, the kings of the United Monarchy. We will not be talking about each of these kings, but we will be talking about many of them in turn. For reference, you can come back to this point in the video to look at where these kings or queen fall in this timeline. After the split of the United Monarchy of Israel, Shishak, who was an Egyptian pharaoh named Shoshenq I, allied himself with the northern kingdom of Israel and King Jeroboam in hopes to conquer the southern kingdom of Judah. This is the first time that we get a direct reference to someone in the biblical text who we also have record of in extra-biblical history. Shoshenq I is the name of the Egyptian pharaoh who reigned from about 943 to 922 BCE, and is called Shishak in the Hebrew Bible. Some Egyptian records also mention Israel and Judah at this point. This map gives you an idea of what the ancient Near East looked like around the 8th century BCE. If you notice here, this is the southern kingdom of Judah. Around 824 BCE, this dark green area was the area that the kingdom of Assyria had conquered. Over the course of about 150 years, Assyria conquered the entire light green area that extended into Egypt. The kingdom of Israel was located somewhere in this area, above northern Judah, but in 722 was destroyed by the Assyrians in their conquest across the Near East. We will begin by discussing the northern kingdom of Israel and its timeline and kings. One of the major dynasties of the northern kingdom of Israel is the Omride dynasty, which began with King Omri around 882 BCE. Omri is most notable for moving the capital of the northern kingdom of Israel from the city of Shechem to the city of Samaria. Omri's son Ahab reigned from 871 to 852 BCE. Ahab is probably most notable for his marriage to Jezebel. Jezebel was a non-Israelite who worshipped Baal, and under Ahab's reign, the northern kingdom of Israel instituted worship of Baal, this Canaanite storm god, rather than worshipping Yahweh. Sometime after Ahab's reign, Jeroboam II took over. Jeroboam's reign was quite prosperous according to archaeological evidence that we have of the area at the time. Jeroboam, perhaps in an attempt to institute worship of Yahweh again, set up golden calves at the cities of Dan and Bethel. However, if you recall Exodus 32, this golden calf incident seems to be a reason for viewed negatively by the Deuteronomistic historian as well as the author of the Torah. Menahem, after Jeroboam's reign, supposedly continued the sins of Jeroboam, according to the prophet Amos. During Menahem's reign, the Assyrian Empire was gaining a lot of ground. Because of this, Menahem decided to pay tribute to the Assyrians. Paying tribute in the ancient world essentially meant that one nation was protected from other countries by the kingdom that the smaller kingdom was paying tribute to, as well as ensuring that this larger kingdom they were paying tribute to would not conquer them. In 732, King Hoshea takes over the northern kingdom of Israel. During Hoshea's reign, the northern kingdom of Israel is destroyed. Hoshea, as the last king of the northern kingdom of Israel, continues paying tribute to the Assyrians. However, at the last moment, he decides that Israel should be independent of other nations. So he withdraws his tribute to gain independence for Israel. However, in this moment of weakness, the Assyrians were able to invade and conquer the northern kingdom of Israel. The year 722 is the time that we mark as the destruction of the northern kingdom of Israel. The northern kingdom of Israel was not the only kingdom affected by the Neo-Assyrian Empire. The Neo-Assyrian Empire was the major world power in the ancient Near East from around 911 to 609 BCE. Under Tiglath-Pileser III, who reigned about 20 years, the Neo-Assyrian Empire had widespread rule over the ancient Near East. They required tribute not only from the Kingdom of Israel, but also from other nations. Shalmaneser V, who, if you notice this final date for his reign, 722, reigned at the beginning of the destruction of the Kingdom of Israel. The destruction and siege of kingdoms was not something that happened in a day, but over a period of time. Shalmaneser V was responsible for beginning the siege of the capital city of Samaria. Upon his death, Sargon II took over and continued and captured and destroyed the city of Samaria, which ended the kingdom of northern Israel. This led to what we call the Assyrian diaspora or Assyrian exile. The diaspora is essentially a dispersion of people from their homeland. Some Israelites remained behind in the northern kingdom of Israel and joined the Assyrian Empire. Many others who wanted to maintain their religious beliefs and culture fled the area to the southern kingdom of Judah. As we turn our attention to the southern kingdom of Judah, some of these Neo-Assyrian rulers are still in play, but we will see a change in world power as we move through. The southern kingdom of Judah was begun by King Rehoboam, who was Solomon's son. The kings of the southern kingdom of Judah are primarily people descended from David. The Deuteronomistic historian, for this reason, seems to view the southern kingdom of Judah as a much better place than the northern kingdom of Israel. Under King Asa, the southern kingdom of Judah seemed to have a golden age. There was peace for a while, the nation was well defended, and the cities were fortified. King Jehoshaphat took over around 870 BCE. If you notice the time overlap here between Asa and Jehoshaphat's reign, this is because Asa was still technically king, was incapable of ruling during this time. Jehoshaphat decided to try to ally with northern kingdom of Israel and recombine the two nations. He married his son Jehoram to Ahab's daughter Athaliah. Athaliah was a believer of Baal, just like her mother Jezebel was. She was the only queen who ruled both nations at the same time, and the only queen of the kingdom of Judah. She instituted worship of Baal in the kingdom of Judah. Uzziah, also called Azariah, ruled about 60 years after Athaliah's reign. His reign was prosperous, according to the Book of Kings. However, he became prideful and decided to burn incense in the temple. Remember, this was a role only allowed for the priest, so this blurred the line of what the king and the priest could do and what their actions and responsibilities were. Because of this, according to the Book of Kings, an earthquake occurred while Uzziah was in the temple. Light came onto his face, and he got leprosy because of this. Because of this, he was unable to continue ruling the kingdom, and King Jotham took over during this time. According to the text, Jotham was a good leader who married Zadok's daughter and worked alongside the prophets. After King Jotham's reign, Ahaz took over. During Ahaz's reign, the northern kingdom of Israel was destroyed. The northern kingdom of Israel, in a last attempt to save their kingdom, asked Ahaz and the southern kingdom of Judah for help against the Assyrians. However, Ahaz turned his back on his fellow Israelites and called in the Assyrians to help defeat Israel instead. Because of this, Assyria decided to require tribute from the southern kingdom of Israel. The prophet Isaiah critiques this. Ahaz decided to worship and institute worship of Assyrian gods, and a continued effort to pay tribute as well as culture to the Assyrians. After Ahaz's reign, King Hezekiah took over. During King Hezekiah's reign, the Assyrian king Sennacherib invaded Jerusalem. Though Sennacherib invaded, he was unsuccessful in destroying Jerusalem, as Hezekiah and his army fought off the invasion. During Hezekiah's reign, the king reformed religion in the kingdom of Judah, abolishing idolatry and re-centralizing worship of Yahweh at the temple in Jerusalem. However, after Hezekiah's reign, King Manasseh essentially undid everything that Hezekiah did. Manasseh was loyal to the kingdom of Assyria. Similarly, Josiah decided to reform the religion, cleansing the temple. Remember, Josiah supposedly finds the book of Deuteronomy in the temple as he is cleaning and reforming the religion. What we see throughout the kingdom of Judah is essentially the roles being flipped. We'll see one good king who worships Yahweh, as well as one bad king who reinstitutes worship of foreign gods, followed by somebody who institutes worship of Yahweh again, and so on. After Josiah's reign, Jehoiachin takes over. Jehoiachin, as you can see here, only reigns for less than a year. He is a king installed by Egypt. According to the Book of Kings, Jehoiachin is a terrible king. Nebuchadnezzar II, who is the ruler of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, takes over and lays siege to Jerusalem during Jehoiachin's reign. This is the first siege of Jerusalem. As you can see, the Neo-Babylonian Empire, in the case of the ancient Near East as a whole, has conquered, for the most part, the Neo-Assyrian Empire as the major world power. Zedekiah is the last king of the southern kingdom of Judah. He was installed by Babylon under the rule of Nebuchadnezzar II and was paying tribute to Babylon. Similar to Hoshea in the northern kingdom of Israel, Zedekiah was paying tribute to the Babylonians, but decided that he wanted to make the southern kingdom of Judah independent again. Therefore he withdrew the tribute, which caused Nebuchadnezzar II to invade. In 586 BCE, the kingdom of Jerusalem fell, and Babylon invaded and destroyed not only Jerusalem, but the entire southern kingdom of Judah, and destroyed the temple. This is what led to what we call the Babylonian exile or diaspora. Now that we have reached the end of this video, you should be able to describe the events surrounding the division of the United Monarchy of Israel, identify and explain key figures and events in the timelines of both the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah, and identify and explain key figures in the ancient Near East who influenced the history of both northern Israel and southern Judah.